we've got people coming in, we've got a few people leaving as well. So we'll deal with the commotion as best we can. Our next speaker today is Lindsay McBain. You may have met him like I did at the beginning of the conference when he was engaging with a number of people here. He is an international marketing consultant with Facial Network. Their name tag is something you might be familiar with. He's got a fascinating presentation to share with us today around the power of tech connectivity in driving personal relationships, how we engage technology to build personal relationships and connectivity with individual customers. Join me in welcoming Lindsay McBain to the stage.
Thank you so much. So, hello. Brilliant. My name is Lindsay McBain. I'm an international marketing consultant working with Facial Network. It may be impossible to tell from my accent, but I am actually English. And I live in Ireland now. I'm just wondering if there are any Irish people in the room. Probably not. So I can easily say Kate Mueller-Fota and no one will know if I'm insulting you or just blessing you, which is fine. So today I want to talk about the new facial recognition revolution, or the mobile facial recognition revolution. I believe this will change the way that people interact with each other and the way that we interact with consumers. There's a few concepts I want to introduce to you, but before I do that, I want to set a little context. There's several different technology trends that have been happening concurrently over the last few years, and they're now starting to converge in a way that is going to produce some truly remarkable results. Those three trends are the explosion in mobile, cloud-based infrastructure, and now the development in facial recognition, which for us has been produced as an API. So, we all have one of these, a smartphone. This is my new demo Note 3, which is beautiful. And in the United States, there's 148 million of them, with a study I looked at from last year, but probably closer to something like 200 million this year. Worldwide, somewhere between 1 and 2 billion. Oh, I didn't realize it moved, so I've got to be careful of that. 1 and 2 billion worldwide. And there's a few interesting points. I saw another study that said that the average smartphone user never goes further than 5 feet from their smartphone in any 24-hour period. And I thought this was kind of crazy until I realized that I'm actually falling asleep with my phone in my hand most nights, and then I wake up and I'm still checking my email. So maybe not so crazy as you might think. On top of this, data rates on the 4G network, we're talking about something like 1 gigabit per second, which is just incredible. It makes crazy things possible. Because we're now connected permanently to the online world through the palm of our hand. And it allows us to integrate the offline and the online. There's still a little bit of awkwardness though. The phone doesn't recognize you or the people around you. So when you're trying to complete an interaction, say you're trying to check in online, you still have to log in. If you're trying to connect with someone in person using your phone, there's kind of this awkward moment. And I think it could be a lot more seamless. There's 3 features I want to point out in particular about the mobiles of today, or the cell phones of today. The digital camera, which is often video and high definition. The GPS, or the location-based functionality. And finally, the data connection that I mentioned earlier on. Just keep these features in mind as we go forwards. One last point. There are now over 1 million selfies being captured every day in the world, and this is important, so I'm not being frivolous. This means young people are comfortable taking photos of themselves and broadcasting their own faces and those of their friends online. And these photos are time-stamped and location-stamped using those features of the phone. And it's a 1 million records of social interactions, or that something fun was taking place. And these interactions, these points of data are geolocated and time-stamped. So we've talked about mobile. Probably most of you know all this stuff already. Let's talk about cloud. I actually have a friend in Ireland called Sean O'Sullivan, who is credited with coining the term, or co-coining the term, cloud computing in the early 1990s while he was at NetCentric. It's a beautiful concept. We're going to talk about all the scalable and so on, but it's only really just now in the last few years that cloud has really started to create an impact on the business world. For us, it means that we can scale the technology from small prototypes all the way to enterprise level very, very quickly. We can swap in servers without changing the overall architecture and meet demand almost infinitely. The most important point about this is that we can build an application programming interface, lightning fast, secure. It's an API. All the major success stories use these types of APIs to communicate with their partners on a fundamental level and create this seamless experience where you can, a customer or a user can go from one web property to another without any change in the integration. And also the API allows us to offer cross-channel, so we can go from device to web app to enterprise application and be using the same system to connect between all of them. Again, cloud, you probably all heard about it. This isn't news. So, what is missing? Facial recognition, what you're sitting here to hear about. It was originally developed in 1964, and for the past 50 years has been used primarily by government and law enforcement agencies. It's based on the principle that every face is unique. We like to call it nature's QR code. And right now, you're probably remembering my face. And when you meet me later, you'll search through your memory, recall my face, and then recall some information connected with that. Hopefully, you'll recall all the best bits from this talk, and we'll have a great conversation. But the same process happens when we do it in the software. There are some other biometrics that we could be using, such as DNA or fingerprints, but the face is the only unique identifier available at a distance. I want to mention also about the history. I said for 50 years it's been used for catching the bad guy. I think this has created a certain behavioral conditioning where every time people see facial recognition, it's about catching the bad guy. So there's this Pavlovian response to it. On the flip side, for us anyway, when we've put it into applications, it's created a lot of buzz. And when we gave people the opportunity to look at it in a different way, they started getting quite excited at the potential positive possibilities. And that's what I want to point out about this, that this is about a new revolution. It's about being easy, open, friendly, and making it fun. We actually had the app that we built for this conference down at some of the drinks last night, and people were really having a great time interacting with each other using the software. It means that we can do immediate response times. And this immediacy of getting it to your phone creates this seamless, personal, tailored experience where the information is just coming just for whatever context that you need. How does it work? Well, humans obviously are very capable at recognizing faces. It's taken until now for the software to surpass that capability. And this is the missing ingredient that is going to make this change possible. The process is broken down into three parts: detection, analysis, and identification. Let's talk about them in step. Step one, detection. So this is where we identify a face in a digital image. We look for an oval-shaped object, two circles for eyes, a line for a mouth, a triangle for a nose. There's a process called Viola-Jones cascading filter that is often used. The end result is you crop a face or multiple faces out of a photo, and you then send it to a server where it gets analyzed. This is a complex algorithm, maps points on the face, builds a literal map of the face, and then indexes it as what's called biometric data. So we index it in our database. And the first time we see a face, these are the two steps that happen. The second time we see a face, we move to this step. We do the first two again, And then we start running an identification. So we search for this face that we're looking for in our database. We return a probable percentage score. We then confirm the identity, either based on limits and parameters or an agent that's confirming that identity. And then we return context-relevant information. I'm going to talk in a minute a bit about examples, but there's two examples here that might be interesting. For instance, if you were searching for this face of the person from a shopping application, we would return shopping preferences. If we were searching for this face, for instance, from an online survey, which is something someone's mentioned to me here, then we could verify if that face has been seen before in a previous online survey of a similar nature. So, where are we at? The important thing to note here is that the database is the big feature in this process. The reason we're a platform and not a service is because we manage at Facial Network the face identification, the face storing of the faces in the database. In fact, our flagship product released in December actually has 12 million faces indexed, collected from public sources on the social web. These represent the most active users and the core of the social web. I want to say at this point that all of our apps use appropriate privacy controls, and we spend an inordinate amount of time thinking about privacy rights. When we index and collect, we use ethical, safe methods. When our active users are all provided with appropriate, fine-grained, granular control of the permissions, and most importantly, we try to make all interactions reciprocal. So if you guys were to recognize me, I would have the option to acknowledge and accept that recognition taking place. Let's explore some ways that, this is NameTag, our primary product. Let's explore some ways this technology could be used. One of my personal favorite ideas is a vending machine, an automatic vending machine. So I'd walk up to it and it would recognize my face, dispense a soda, and automatically charge my card. With the cloud functionality, you could put this over a distributed network so that a person could walk up to any one of the machines and get their favorite soda dispensed, and then it could probably charge their company account. Maybe this would cause an exploding soda bill for companies, so maybe that one won't work so well, but it's a great idea of mine. But another one that I quite like is paperless ticketing. Convenience, hospitality. You walk into a stadium, the usher recognizes you as a VIP and instantly gives you access to the VIP privileges and so on. Both of these represent that kind of seamless experience that I'm talking about, that I would like to see people get every day as they walk around. There are two options when building an application as a partner with us. You can build as a universal application using a universal database, like the NameTag application mentioned earlier on. This allows people to engage the larger user base that are using our global network. But there's also siloed data applications, such as Convention ID. This we built as a prototype to bring to this conference, and essentially the concept is that you would register everyone at the registration desk, as you saw us doing 2 days ago. You would then, as attendees, each be able to have the application, and when you're having a conversation, you could, at the end of the conversation, instead of searching for business card details and so on, you can just add the person to your lead list by just clicking and saying, "May I take your details?" And then the person accepts on their mobile phone, and then you've got their face for the conversation and a note of whatever the conversation was. I personally really liked the interaction that we were exploring as people came to our booth. So feel free to come to our booth later on and see how that works. One last one is Loyalty ID. A lot of people here have been interested in that. This concept is in another exploratory phase for some partners. It would involve, at a store, enrolling a consumer in a rewards program. When they do that, their face would get added to the system. And when they then, a few weeks later, engage with, say, a branded application on their smartphone, they would be able to identify themselves and gain reward points. And then when they walk back into the store, the customer care agent, as they walk in, could recognize them as a VIP customer or a loyal customer, and then give them the right level of service and attention. More importantly, you can even go back online again, and so when they go back to an online checkout, for instance, they can have the option of checking out with their face. So it really is about going across channels and being bridging the gap between the offline world and the online world, and creating this seamless experience. I've got a minute left, so I'll wrap up. Facial recognition, this new wave of facial recognition, is now starting to build. And it's because of a convergence in these three technologies: mobile, cloud, and the new developments in facial recognition. Mobile means that nearly every consumer has the capability to use it, as well as the staff inside companies. Cloud means that you can build across devices, applications, platforms, and be going across all of those channels. Facial recognition means that you can keep the identity consistent across those channels. And we are building this seamless bridge. It's a seamless daily experience where people can go offline and online without any effort. If you want to build this technology, or you want to use this technology, then now is the time to start exploring it, because it's going to start accelerating, in my opinion. At Facial Network, we're trying to describe this and get people excited about this new opportunity. So we like to say, our platform, your imagination. Thank you very much.
We've got time for just a couple of questions, if anybody
Must be some questions.
anything to...
Is no one worried about the privacy? That's a big one. So what is specifically?
Well, if you've got a database of however many images that you say you captured, right? When you talk about having had 12 million images or whatever the number was, those were just taken off of social networks, presumably.
Yeah.
And the people who gave permission to have you access that, I don't believe they're giving permission to then use it in the public sphere outside the online social network.
No, they're not giving explicit permission, but we're not also republishing it. The effect is very similar to a newspaper that's looking through and taking information publicly available. So there's nothing incorrect on the legal front, but I do understand there's a very clear ethical line that we have to be clear about. So in that side of our business, we're just a data miner. Now the great thing is that people can actually come in and claim their data with us by just going in and recognizing their face. And in fact, we have the capability to actually opt people out much more explicitly than nearly any other data provider I can think of. Because anytime we then find that face anywhere, we can say we don't want to hold these records as any kind of public information. And we're actually hoping to offer the service so that people can actually see where their face is turned up in our data mining efforts. So our service is no different from Facebook or Google in terms of the way that they handle the data. We're just collecting data from various online sources, but we want to make sure that we are, right on the right side of this equation by making sure that people can claim their data and know what we're doing with it and can actually talk to us about that process. I don't know if that helps you understand, but I'd be happy to answer more questions on that.
Lindsay, thank you very much. Appreciate you.